Hello everyone, Fertility Journals here. If you're new, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you join the family. I decided to start this YouTube channel because when I was undergoing my 12 cycles of IVF, I relied so heavily in this space to be able to gain encouragement, inspiration, and most importantly, to learn from others who had gone through the journey before me. And I must admit that when it ended up being successful for me, we are now blessed with a bouncy, beautiful baby boy. I decided to hop onto this space to be able to also share in the hope that it may inspire, motivate, or encourage any of you who are going through IVF or know somebody who is going through IVF. Today, I wanted to go ahead and cover a common question that I get about the doctors that I worked with, if there's any doctors that I would recommend. I sometimes get questions like that, and you'll notice on my channel, I desperately try. I'm not good at this at all, but I do journal video vlogs and I try to post those as much as possible. My journey for all the 12 cycles is on my channel, so I will put a link in the information bar, so if you're curious how each and every cycle went, you'll be able to see that. But now, most of the time when I get a question over and over again, I get all dolled up like I have tonight, and I try to answer those questions. So the other videos, they are very IVF raw. I think you may enjoy that because it's very raw and very real. I got no wig on, I got no makeup on. I am like, let's get these babies. So hopefully you will enjoy those. Okay, so I digress, but today I'm going to talk to you in answering the question about doctors, and hopefully you may find this information rewarding. Stay tuned. The first doctor that I highly recommend is my doctor, Frank Yelian of the Life IVF Center in Irvine, California. Dr. Yelian has two clinics. He has one in Irvine and he has one in Acadia in Los Angeles. The joke that my husband and I have is that if you want to make your dreams come true, you need to go to Beverly Hills, California. Those women really do have it all, because it's the joke we have. Because when I went to LA, I ended up with my baby and it was supposed to be a miracle, but he is known as the miracle baby doctor. When I tell you that he is amazing and has helped so many women, words can't even describe how grateful I am for Dr. Yelian. And I say this because particularly if you are one of those women who does not want to give up on having your own genetic child, you know, it's interesting because you meet many doctors, and what happened to me was I met many great doctors and they wanted me to succeed, and they recommended donor reg for the right reasons, because they knew that if I put in the money and I did donor reg, I would be successful. But I had not even tried with my own eggs, and so what was refreshing in talking to Dr. Yelian was that he was willing to help me try. And because women in his clinic tend to use their own genetic eggs, there was data for women in my age group as well. So it caters to all age groups. And so I was then able, because of that data, that's actually what kept me going and helped me understand and make peace with my diagnosis, because he had worked with women like myself who had age-related infertility. And so I was a poor responder. I had an FSH of 24.6, AMH of 0.1, diminished ovarian reserve, and perimenopausal. So it was really daunting, and it was refreshing to get a doctor who was willing to help me try with my own genetic eggs. And I think a lot of it too is a lot of his patients are international as well and come from a background where having a genetic child is really important if it is at all possible. And so I felt that it was good to actually work with a doctor who realized the importance of giving that a try before proceeding on to donor regs. And yes, Dr. Yelian does work with patients with donor reg as well as those who are in need of a surrogate. So there is TPR, third-party reproduction, at that center. So Hopefully that is helpful, and that could be a doctor that you would consider. And I actually did outside monitoring with Dr. Yelian because I do live in a different state. And so I'll probably do a video on how outside monitoring works, but essentially what it is when you're going through all the testing and the initial processes for IVF, you would do them in your home state, and then your clinic that you do the outside monitoring with in your home state would forward the results to Dr. Yelian. And so I did all my 12 IVF cycles that way. So it is still possible to actually secure him as a doctor. Key things that his clinic does is he does a free webinar every month and offers a free cycle of IVF through a raffle using participants' phone numbers. And so, if anything, if you're in need of a free IVF cycle, why not, right? But he does do a free webinar, and then after the webinar, he does a free consultation, and that's actually how I was able to secure him, because after the consultation, I knew that he definitely was the right doctor for me. And he was the 4th doctor I worked with through the IVF process. The second doctor that I would highly recommend when it comes to IVF is Dr. Silber in St. Louis, Missouri. He is amazing, guys. I first met Dr. Silber online, and as I was doing my research, same research as I met Dr. Yelian, but I didn't quite want to go to St. Louis, Missouri. It was easier in my mind to go to LA, but either way, he has a much longer wait time because Dr. Silber is the original US doctor that started doing IVF. And I didn't mention this before, but all these doctors actually specialize in mini IVF, which is the less invasive, less medicated type of IVF, which is really, really helpful for women who are averse to having lots of medication. You're not really thinking about a big family. So if you're younger, that would be the reason. But then for those of us who have age-related infertility, who are a little bit older or have diminished ovarian reserve, mini IVF is really the way for us because we can't take all that medication just to mature a few eggs. But so Dr. Silber also does mini IVF. He's amazing. I found him on YouTube, and he actually does Q&A on YouTube. He has done presentations, and it's amazing work that he does. He actually did the first IVF cycle on TV. It was broadcast live, and so that was amazing to see as well. And he's so knowledgeable. He is actually the doctor who I was able to learn from, because his take on IUI is that intimacy, the traditional champagne and chocolate method of reproducing, is much better than IUI. I did not know that, but of course, after 5 failed IUIs, I realized that probably he was right. And so you should listen to the doctors who know what they're talking about. But he's an advocate of obviously going straight to IVF because the IUI really does not work. It's not a very effective method. And so I wish I had found him that particular video early, but yeah, something about Dr. Silber. But he is amazing. He practices the Japanese IVF as well as Denmark IVF, both versions of mini IVF that are chromate based. And he is somebody that you could definitely consult with, and he does outside monitoring as well if you happen to live outside of St. Louis, Missouri. The third doctor that I would recommend that was really amazing to work with was Dr. Jeffrey Keenan. He is based in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Dr. Jeffrey Keenan is an OBGYN, and he is also a fertility specialist. And when I was exploring different types of IVF, I came across Dr. Jeffrey Keenan, and he is amazing. He is a spiritual based doctor, so he follows the Christian faith, and his clinic actually does embryo donation. That was going to be our third pathway to baby. You guys know that in my head, I kind of invented this whole idea of like the ways to get to a baby. And in the ways to get to a baby, there's 5 main ways. For us, the embryo donation was third. So first obviously was genetic egg, second was donor, third was the embryo donation, and then fourth was foster care, and then adoption, and then obviously surrogacy if for some reason I was able to find that my body could not carry the pregnancy, and so gestational surrogacy. So basically his clinic does embryo donation, and also he does mini and natural cycle IVF as well. So he's definitely a doctor that you could think about, and he also does outside monitoring if you happen to live out of state. The fourth doctor I would recommend is Dr. Mark Solis. He is based in Florida, and Dr. Solis is actually the one who was able to help a 46-year-old woman give birth with her own genetic eggs through a live fresh cycle IVF, which, as you guys know, is just amazing. I mean, it made the books because she did a fresh transfer. It wasn't frozen, and she got a bouncy baby boy at the age of 47, and the IVF procedure was done at age 46. And so Dr. Mark Solis is amazing, and he is a doctor that you can definitely talk to. He actually does have videos on YouTube as well, so you can take a look at them to see if he is the kind of fertility doctor that you would love to engage with. Dr. Randy Morris, he is actually an internet-based doctor. I found him, he's not internet-based, rather he does a lot of videos on YouTube. And I relied heavily on Dr. Randy Morris to understand infertility, because he has his channel is Infertility TV, and he does this Q&As and addresses a lot of questions. So when I was originally undergoing my journey, I really wanted to understand it, because you don't know about infertility. You're not taught about that. I actually experienced it when I was trying to get a baby, when my husband and I were trying to get a baby. And so it was really nice to just be educated about the process of having a child. And he has lots of videos and most up-to-date videos on different things related to fertility. And so I definitely do think that he is a doctor that is worth knowing. And the last doctor I will talk about is actually Dr. Zhang, and he is of the New Hope Fertility Center in New York. It's interesting because the choice I had when I was investigating mini IVF was, Silber, then it was Frank Yelian, and then Dr. Zhang. Now, obviously, Dr. Zhang would have been my first choice because he was based in New York, and it's closer to where I live, the state that I am. But I ended up going with Dr. Frank Keenan because my heart was called to his clinic, and your intuition guides you into who the doctor is right for you. But Dr. Zhang is amazing. He has done great work. He is actually forefront in this whole area of infertility in terms of helping women have their own genetic child. In fact, he pioneered the 3-parent baby method, and it was actually banned by the FDA in the United States. And typically what that process involved was taking the mitochondria out of the donor egg and putting the mother's mitochondria into the donor egg, and then fertilizing it so that the baby would have the genetics of the mother. And for those of you who have a desire to have your own genetic child, you can just imagine how wonderful that would be. But of course, because it would have 3 types of DNA, I think the FDA felt it was like human experimentation, which is interesting because I still think it's a 3-parent baby when it's a donor egg, right? Because it's donor egg, mother that is the birth mother, and then the father, so it's a 3-parent baby. But anyway, yeah, So anyway, the FDA banned it, but Dr. Zhang has been forefront, and he actually was able to help a woman who was, in 2014, he helped a woman who was 47 years old have her own genetic child after multiple attempts of IVF. And I believe he also helped a woman who was 48 be able to conceive with her own genetic egg through, again, the mini IVF process. And so he's amazing. And for anybody who is close to that area and wants to try with their own genetic egg, then I think that Dr. Zhang is worth working with to try and see. Because at the end of the day, it's all about maximizing it, right? And so it's nice that there are doctors out there who will do that, who will use their science to help you maximize your opportunities before you move on to the next pathway, if the next pathway is right for you. So definitely would recommend looking into Dr. Zhang. And he also does do outside monitoring. And so he is an option as well. All right, folks, so I think those are the doctors as of right now that I would suggest that you look into. And in the information bar, I will be able to actually list the doctors and their clinics so you can take a look at them, and I hope maybe be able to find the right one for you. And so, and you know, if you do know a doctor, let's make this a little engaging and great for people who may stop by to watch this video. If you know of a doctor, do you mind putting it in the comments so that others can kind of know the doctors that you're working with and then be able to have options? That would be amazing, guys. I really would appreciate that. And that way we're empowering each other as women, because we have each other. That's all we have when it comes to this journey. And so hopefully you'll be able to do that. Thank you so much for watching. Until my next video. Bye-bye.